during the debate, but you could see that he could recall facts. He could articulate what he wanted to say. He didn't slur his speech. And then you compare that to what we have now, and it's just two completely different human beings, unfortunately. And it's unfortunate because he is the president of our country. And, I do pray for the man. I do pray that, he's able to, physically and mentally run the country. But I have no confidence in the man to do that. And that was on full display for everybody to see Thursday night. Yeah. And the Dominic, okay, look, you Brit, stay out of our politics, okay? Dominic's playing.
I'm going to send a mail-in ballot, and he can vote Trump, okay? Yeah.
Talking about
Gavin. Post up my comment.
Absolutely right.
Gavin is a scam disaster.
Okay, so today, okay, so I've taken care of the Monday thing. We're going to go switch into Monday beginning the 15th of July. We've touched on the debate on Thursday because I wanted to, I just, because that's been kind of the news driver, the biggest news driver in the last week. So let's go ahead and get to today's topic. And I'll tell you, there was a guy, I think I saw him in chat, that kind of gave me the idea for the show this week. This is Brian. He goes by Bry on Facebook. But anyway, he was talking about how Muslims venerate Muhammad. And when we start looking at, why they, not necessarily why they venerate them, but how could you as a thinking human being venerate this man? How could you hold him in any self-esteem? Well, when anybody starts, what's the first thing that happens when you start criticizing Muhammad? Anybody? What happens when you start criticizing Muhammad?
Oh, they complain and they cry.
Okay. And what do they try to engage you?
No, they threaten you.
Yeah, they threaten you.
You're hurting my feel. No, it's not. You're hurting my feelings. You're doing something illegal. We're gonna call the police on you.
Well, or they'll try to get you fired from your job, professional job, or they'll put your personal information out there. They'll do anything and everything but try to defend Muhammad, and they'll call you this name, this catch-all name. You're an Islamophobe. When you criticize Islam, you're considered what they call is an Islamophobe. And what they're hoping to do is they're hoping to shut down the entire discussion, or at least move the discussion away from who Muhammad was, what Muhammad did, what their religion teaches, or how they practice it, or how their core religionists practice it anyway, to you being a hater, a bigot, having some type of phobia, some irrational fear. So what I did was I went out and I looked up the definition for Islamophobia, and I went to a website which everybody is very familiar with. I'm certain of that. I'm not. It's called Islamicity. Islamicity. Have you guys ever seen this website?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. This great website. Now look what it says. Islamophobia is the irrational fear, hatred, or prejudice against Islam and Muslims. Now that's a pretty broad net that they're spreading there. And I would say that Islamophobia is not an irrational fear. If you really want to weigh this, why would you have a fear of Islam? Well, if you go to what's that website? What's the website that keeps track of all the attacks? Is that Religion of Peace? Am I correct on that? Religion of Peace?
Religion of Peace.
Religion. Okay. Religion. Well, you go to Religion of Peace is the one that keeps track of the number of attacks committed in the name of Islam since 9/11, 2001. And I think they're up to like 45,000. So it really isn't an irrational fear. An irrational fear would be there haven't been any attacks since 9/11. And so people should therefore not not fear Islam. But when you have 45, now this is 45,000 separate attacks. This isn't people dead or people. This is just a number of attacks, and many of these attacks include hundreds of people. So it's not an irrational fear of Islam itself, but it's a fear. It's a rational fear of what the adherents of Islam do to non-Muslims. And all you have to do is just go to Nigeria. Nigeria is a great place to go to give you that. And then
since the year 2000, Nigeria has had 62,000 people dead because of Islam.
62,000.
62,000, but that's since the year 2000.
Okay, and that's just one country.
That's
just
one country alone.
Yeah. Then it says, or prejudiced against Islam. Now, I hold prejudices against lies. I hold prejudices against things that are not true. I hold prejudices against that lead people into hell. For example, I'm prejudiced against Satan. Does that mean I'm a satanic phobe or a devil phobe or anything of that nature? Of course not. So when we think of Islam, Islam essentially teaches you to believe in the wrong Jesus. They don't even have the right. They can't even get the guy's name right, for Pete's sake. They don't have the guy's right mother. They said he didn't ever die on a cross. All these things are patently untrue.
Well, Isa didn't die on a cross, but Jesus did. So they're totally clueless.
Right. Exactly. So so it is not a prejudice against. Well, I guess it is it's a prejudice against.
It's a prejudice against stupidity.
You can say, yeah. Well, irrational beliefs is what they are. If you were going, and we've nugged this out several times on this show. If you were going to follow the historical method is how we determine historical facts. And if you are going to follow the historical method, looking at the historical facts, the Quran and Muhammad were wrong about Jesus. They don't have the right Jesus. They have the wrong name. That's not a correct translation of his name. They have the wrong mother. It's not Mary, sister of Aaron, and they say that he never died on a cross. Three of the most demonstrable things they get wrong. So they have that wrong. And then it goes on to say, let me put this up here so we're not. It can manifest in various forms, including discrimination. I don't see Muslims getting discriminated against in our country. And if they do, then you got care to file lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits, verbal abuse. We've seen the verbal abuse. Not social exclusion. I wouldn't say that they're socially excluded because of Americans. They socially exclude themselves. As a matter of fact, they balkanize themselves often, not only in the United States, but also in many other countries. And even acts of violence. Now that's a lie. I mean, this is a lie that, that if you just keep on telling a lie, if you tell it a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. And this is just a lie. There have not been, when we start talking about acts of violence, you might be able to point to one or two examples. And this is what our buddy down in, what happened to you?
Wow, he got cut, he got shaved.
Isa, can you hear us?
Oh, you're talking to me?
I'm talking to you. Did you get your hair cut?
You got trimmed.
I tied up my hair and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
you tied it. Oh. Whoa, dude. Would you going in the army or something? You get your hair cut?
I'm not going to the army. That's my intention. So. Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm on the track of doing that. I just need to find the time where I can do the boot camp and stuff. So, yeah.
Whoa.
Wait, you don't schedule your time to go.
I got to do that on the weekends and on the holidays. What is this?
Because you do 10 weeks, so it's I have to schedule the time in it because I'm going to school too. So I got to make sure I have a time where I can do that.
So is this like an OCS package you got to put together, or what? What is this?
Well, I'm trying to do the officer. I'm taking the officer route. So
Officer Candidate School, OCS, sure, okay, and then you have to put together this packet in order to go through all that.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Yeah. Well, I want to be the first one to see your haircut when you get there. That's.
I'll put my camera on when I come on.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you should get it cut before you go so you have less problems. That's my personal
I
thought.
feel you. I feel you, brother. I get that. That's fair.
Okay. So now that we have a quorum for all the Islamophobes here on the internet, let's start talking about what is and is not Islamophobic. Now, we put out what the definition of Islamophobia is according to Islamicity, and I would think that most of us would agree that when you stereotype somebody, or when you let's see here, when you exclude people because of who they are, or you verbally abuse them, and all that is, I would say, a legitimate complaint against a religion. And I do not believe in discriminating against people. I do not believe in verbally abusing people, socially excluding them, and most definitely not committing acts of violence against them because of the religious faith. At the same time, when you look at the news cycles, the news cycles are constantly filled, especially with CARE, because CARE is nothing more than an arm of the Hamas holes. I mean, that's the connection has been demonstrated. Am I correct on this, Paul? That there's a definite link between the Hamas holes and CARE?
CARE is Hamas. It's not a question. They are a chapter of Hamas.
Okay, yeah. So when we look at what the definition of Islamophobia is according to Islamicity, that's it. Let me tell you what an Islamophobe is. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to write this down? And maybe I should type it in the chat so you can all cut and paste it. An Islamophobe, are you ready for this? An Islamophobe.
You ever see your moment? Just repeat yourself there.
Okay, let me just say it. Okay, an Islamophobe is a kafir who knows too much about Islam. That's what an Islamophobe is. Somebody who can provide a coherent critique of Islam, its teachings, the Quran, and Muhammad's life, and the historicity, there's your word, Paul, the historicity of Islam itself is going to definitely be an Islamophobe. And somebody
is that not Islamophobia at its finest?
It is.
Is that not Islamophobia at its finest?
See in the chat? It is. Thank you. That is Islamophobia at its finest. If you are a kafir and you know a little bit too much about Islam, then you are an Islamophobe. That's what you're going to be called. Just get used to the idea. This is what you are going to be called. And it's not, it's almost, it's predictable. It is predictable as the day is long. Let me take this off there. It is predictable as the day is long. You're going to be definitely called an Islamophobe. And a lot of people are afraid of this term. Many people, I mean, let's face it, nobody likes to be called a bigot, somebody who uses stereotypes on people, or
swine of the humankind.
Exactly, wants to be a swine of the humankind.
Swine of the human.
I know, it's okay. It's all right, guys. It's all right. Nobody wants that moniker, but the fact is this is exactly what's going to happen, especially professionally. They're going to come after you. So I thought today we could spend the day just being Islamophobic. Now, I'm not sure if you all want to participate in this exercise of being Islamophobic. However, I'm thinking that, okay, if you are a Muslim and you want to point to a show where the panel on the show is behaving Islamophobically, we're going to do our community service and provide you an example of that. So if you go ahead and look at the show notes for the show, I think let me bring them up here. I put, let me see here. Let's see here. Is this, no, this is on, Paul, what am I doing on your channel? Oh, you're simulcasting it. I didn't see that. Okay. Hold on just a second. Let me get a kiss. Bye.
Say bye, Papa.
We'll see ya.
Bye, Papa.
We'll see you, buddy. Okay, get in here, Lucas. There's my grandson. Get out of here, Jackson. What are y'all sweaty? You guys been out there doing what?
Playing basketball.
Yeah, you guys.
Love you.
All right, love you guys. We'll see ya. Bye-bye. Life is good. Life is definitely good. Okay, what was I saying? I was saying that we are going to provide Muslims a quintessential example of what Islamophobia looks like. And so what we're going to do on I'm going to bring up my show notes here that are on YouTube. Where are you?
Wait, can I just interrupt for some breaking Islamophobic news?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, hold on, let me pull this up here. All right, share screen. Hold on, here we go. Share screen. Share screen. There we go. So, in case you haven't heard, France has elected the far right party and kicked out Macron, and the Muslims.
Oh,
This is streaming of the Muslim response.
What happened? What is this?
France has
Muslims in France help with the left-wing parties who are going berserk on the streets, burning everything. Oh, okay. And this is
they
new.
said they were going to do it. They threatened to burn France down if they voted in this party. So yes, it is very big news, and that the United States should prepare for this, since they brought in a couple million of them over the border without stopping them.
Now, think about this for a second. This is actually being reported in multiple cities around France, where they have these Muslim populations. But think about this for a second. That's because I forgot her name, what the party's name is. But they promised to start mass deportation of these Muslim migrants. Okay, whatever.
And
Le Pen party, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically why they're doing this. But plus they didn't get their way. Think about this. We have these migrant encampments all over the country now, where they have been smuggling in weapons for the past several months. When Trump is elected, we're going to see this. When Trump is elected, this is going to be in our streets. You watch. So this is a preview to come. So right here, this is Islamophobia at its finest. Look at that. Look at these peaceful Muslims. They're just tear gassing these peaceful Muslims who are throwing rocks at them and breaking windows. They're just so peaceful. This is seriously Islamophobia at its finest, right here, people. What's happening in France?
That way. Okay, so Macron has been thrown out. Is that what you're saying?
I guess it's the first round. I guess they got to do like multiple rounds or something like that. Their election cycle is pretty goofy, and you elect the whole party, and then the party nominates the prime minister or whatever.
Right.
Parliamentary goofiness. Sure. But yeah, it looks like the Le Pen party is just decimating them. Just like all these so-called far right parties all over Europe, because they're sick of this crap, and they're kicking them out. So,
well, that's in France. If you think about what's happened in France, France has a history. I mean, when you look at France and why there's so many Muslims in that country, if look at World War I, folks. World War I was this. My gosh, France, 1 out of every 3, I think this is the number, 1 out of every 3 men ages 18 to 32 died. 1 out of 3. Germany, 1 out of 4 men ages 18 to 32 died in that war. This war was a huge catastrophe to the continent of Europe. It destabilized. I mean, if you think about that, taking that many men out of your society, what are the women going to do, for crying out loud? Your women aren't going to have husbands, or those might have been their husbands that have been killed. So in order to rebuild France allowed this mass immigration to come across the Mediterranean. And this is, I mean, they stayed, and this is exactly what they get. They sent for their kids and their grandkids and their grandkids' kids, and these are the kids. This is the result of what happened in France. We had a missionary that went over to France. He was a missionary. He set up a church, a Baptist church over there. And this is one of the things that he talked about is that this is the history of France. They lost so many people during World War I. They had to allow the mass immigration of these people. And when they came in, you're not going to take the Islam out of them when they come from Islamic countries. And this unfortunately is what's happened to France, and it's not going to stop. It's just not going to stop. France is lost. Okay, so in the write-up, are you saluting me, Isa? What are you
Well,
doing?
I want to ask a question, if that's okay. I don't want to disrupt the thing, but I wanted to say one thing, if that's possible.
Yep, go ahead. You're going like this, and I didn't know if this was.
I'm saluting you and I'm asking a question. Something that's very important to me is free speech. I think to live in a civilized society, we need free speech. So we may disagree about things, but we need to have the space to be able to discuss everything. I believe in the marketplace of ideas. I think this is a very important freedom to have. And the thing that I'm really worried about is if, for example, if people are not challenged in what they believe, is that are people inherently right to have that right? And I think for me that I don't believe in that. I think like South Park, for example, you could disagree with their satire and critique. You can disagree with Charlie Hebdo's critique, but I think they should have the right to critique, because in order to grow and to be the best person you can be, you have to survive through critique. If you're never critiqued, then why would, why is what you're saying right? You should be able to be, like, I guess they use the phrase baptized by fire, or be, tempered, be like a tempered steel. But I think that's really important, that you are able to be challenged so you can have, really have strength in whatever you believe. Because why do you believe what you believe if you're never actually tested in your belief? So I think that's a very important thing for me. And I'm just curious what you all think about that.
Well, it's so important to Islam because you can't have believers in Islam if you allow challenges, because then they will just be proven wrong again and again, and it makes them feel ridiculously stupid. So that's why they don't have it. Eric, I have a piece here. I'm going to see if I can share the other one. There's a piece I wrote a while back about Islamophobia and emotions in Canada. Let me see if I can share this as a bit bigger. But they have a real problem with deciding what Islamophobia means. And they tried to make a law on this. And I want people to think about how dangerous this is. If you can't decide what Islamophobia is, that's a problem. And
What do you say? What?
Canada tried to make a federal law on Islamophobia. They called it M103.
Okay.
And this is back, I think it's 2018. I think it was 2018 when I was in London. And I was out there speaking in London, Ontario. And by that point, they had a conference and decided what Islamophobia is. Mr. Arif Varani, who was the MP, he said, Islamophobia to me means uttering death threats, assaulting, hatred, threats of violence towards people, and vandalism of their places of worship. All right, that sounds like it's concern over hate speech that Canadian law already covers. That's pretty truthful. How about this one? Tipper Khalid, who was connected to Karakan, which is a mosque in Canada. She said the definition of Islamophobia she subscribes to is an irrational fear or hatred of Muslims or Islam that leads to discrimination. Irrational fear, if they're trying to kill you, is that irrational fear? If they have a belief in jihad,
who is the arbitrator of what is rational and what is not?
That's exactly it. Well, here it gets better. This week, one of our news stories was that the person they put as the head of let me pull that one up. That by itself is bad. One of the people this week who was exposed for Canada, let me just find that. June 28th. This is one of our news stories that we covered on Usama's show last night. It's Arif Farani. And I already mentioned his name, right? Do you know what? So he's the Canada's Attorney General and Minister Justice. He hired this person by the name of Burju Datani as Chief Commissioner of Canada's Human Rights Commission. Datani used to go by the name Mujahid. And he's going to be responsible, the commissioner of Canadian Human Rights Commissioner. He's going to be that of the commission. They actually do arbitrations, they do judgments, if you found guilty in this, you can't be employed any place in Canada. That's people know this. It's dangerous. So like this guy who's going to be in charge, he's in 2014, he spoke on a panel at a Turkish university with Osama Kashu, a member of the Mavi Marmara flotilla that was arrested 4 years earlier for trying to breach Israel's naval cordon of the Gaza Strip. He repeatedly lectured during his Israeli apartheid week. So this guy's going to find all Jews guilty. He hates Jews. Yeah, just the kind of guy you want to put in. Again, his name is Mujahid. He used to go by his middle name, Mujahid. And as soon as you go past, I think it was like
what is the
2014.
Name? People might miss that. What does the name Mujahid mean? What does that mean again?
It's the Arabic word which means jihad warrior for Islam.
Right, exactly. So you are a soldier. It means you are a soldier for Allah, Mujahid. Am I right on this? Steve's here. Steve can tell us. Steve, are we right on that? Or are we mispronouncing it, butchering that name? You're muted, Steve, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it's Mujahid.
Mujahid. Yeah. We have a
cousin
that used to come on the show that calls him, his name is Mujahid Islam.
Well, you know, a lot of the like brigades or something, they call them Mujahideen, you know, which is like plural. It's the plural of Mujahid. Yeah.
With the way propaganda works, first and foremost, everything that we see in the media is not necessarily what's transpiring in reality.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Are we going to have an opportunity to beat Medicare today?
Beat Medicare? Yes, we have to beat Medicare. Yes. No, Biden already did that. He beat to death. Yes.
We have to beat Medicare.
We've already had that discussion on. I'll bite me. Okay, so this was all right. So Paul is showing what M103.
So this is M103. So Dan Vandel, this is a parliamentarian in Canada. He was in charge of race relations, and he said expressions of fear and negative stereotypes, bias, or acts. So you can have a bias and be found guilty. You can have a stereotype, not act on it, and still be guilty.
Okay,
or acts of hostility. Yeah.
What we see here, here's what we see, and this is why people get so ticked off, is because of the fact that you have the encroachment of something that is completely foreign to Western democracies, Western thought, which is what Issa had just said. Issa said, "Where's Issa? Is he still here?" Issa. Yeah, what he was talking about, he doesn't understand why people don't have, why don't they have this freedom of speech? Why don't they have this freedom of conscience? Well, if you look in this book right here, Paul, whoops, wrong one.
Reliance of the Traveler. Yeah.
Reliance of the Traveler is the jurisprudence manual of Sharia. This is the Islamic law. In here on page 597, here's what it says. Please listen to what it says. This is what it says about criticizing Muhammad. And this is under the apostasy clause. Now, apostasy in Islam is punishable by death. Let's see. In case it is obligatory, let's see. Leaving Islam is the ugliest form of kufr and the worst. It may come about through sarcasm, as opposed to, when a person has reached puberty, insane, and apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed. When you apostatize from Islam, you deserve to be killed. This is not Islamophobic. This is not Islamophobia. This is exactly what their jurisprudence manual of the Sharia says. So if you commit apostasy and you deserve to be killed, you want to make sure you're not committing some type of apostasy or something that can be characterized or qualified as being an apostate. Here's what it says. Let's see. Acts that entail leaving Islam. Now, you have left Islam if you do any of the following. Prostrate to an idol, to intend to commit unbelief, even in the future. But number 3 is what really gets me. And this is where Isa has a great point, where you have Islam is antithetical to Western thought. Western thought enables you to provide a criticism or disagree with whatever you want, whatever you choose to. Here's what it says on part 3. It says, to speak words that imply unbelief, such as, are you ready for this? Allah is the third of 3. Boy, what does that sound like? What exactly does that sound like? That sounds.
If you talk about the Christian God, you're going to be beheaded.
Right. That's what that sounds like to me. I don't know if, maybe, a third of 3, say, what is that? 4,150, not 157, 4,171, say not 3. Is that what that says? Say not 3. Nobody says 3. People say Trinity. Now, if you look in the Sahih International version, it says Trinity, but it says say not 3. 3 of what? You got a mouse in your pocket or what? So, or number 4, here's even a better one. To revile Allah. It doesn't stop there, though. You never guess what it says right after that. Does anybody want to take a guess? Anybody?
Muhammad.
Exactly. Or his messenger. And then it says, Allah bless him and give him peace.
Sorry, not doing that one. Maybe giving him pieces, but that's about it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So when we start talking about apostasy, giving the death penalty, having a disagreement, if you are going to provide a legitimate criticism of Muhammad, you are considered an apostate. And if you are an apostate, it says right here on page 595, you deserve to be killed.
So if we talk about Muhammad and his love of little girls, and we talk about his love of every woman that's available that he can find, that's not being an apostate, right? Or showing them the scriptures that say that, or proving from the hadiths that, Aisha said, look, I was 6 when he married me. I was 9 when he consummated the marriage. That's not committing an act of Islamophobia, is it?
Yes, it is. And I was just going to say, let's be Islamophobic. Okay, so you're exactly right, Paul. So I'm going to be a little Islamophobic here, because in the show notes, I'm getting ahead of myself. In the show notes, I haven't even got to the show notes, folks. We were in this 45 minutes in the show, and I haven't even got there yet. In the show notes, here's what I put. Sunday, the argument is not going to be if or if not the people on the cross and the crescent are Islamophobes, but it will be about only Muhammad. If Dawagandists want to truly see what Islamophobia truly looks like, then tune in. We are going to provide you that example to point at when whining about people having the temerity to criticize the demonstrable. Here it is. What are you guys having? Popcorn?
Sorry, that's me.
Ethnic cleansing, murdering, raping, adulterous, lying pedophile. So Paul alluded to the pedophile, and I'm not even, I'm not even going to go there, because I feel like I got to go do wudu every time we get done talking about that part of Islam, where you have a guy who is a 54-year-old man marrying and consummating said marriage to a 9-year-old prepubescent girl. And it's not just him doing it that's so sick and perverse about Islam itself. Hold on, let me see if I'm okay. Islamophobia is the irrational fear, hatred, or prejudice against Islam. Okay, does that sound like I have a prejudice against Islam? Okay, good. So when you say that it's not a good thing for a 54-year-old man to marry a 9-year-old prepubescent girl, then that's not an irrational fear or prejudice against Islam, because this is what Islam teaches. If you go to 65:4, everybody's familiar with 65:4. Am I correct on this? In the Quran, in chapter 65, it provides the processes for a man to divorce his wife. And in this eventuality that you are going to divorce your wife, you have to provide your wife a waiting period before you turn her out. And that's called an Ida or something like that.
Ida.
Okay. And
Ida. You got
you got to give your wife an Ida, which is 3 months. Well, and this is to ensure that if she is pregnant, that you do not turn a woman who's pregnant that's going to bear your child out. You provide her the opportunity to bear the child, and then you throw her out, I guess. I don't know. But in this process, in chapter 65, verse 4, it defines who is given an Ida. And in this process, it says, let me go down here to I think it's at the bottom of my slideshow. I'm sorry. It says
we're not seeing it, just to let you know.
What?
We're not seeing your slideshow.
I got to put it up here. I'm sorry. I'm not as good as I used to was. And then even then I wasn't very good. Let's see here. Here we go. Here's what it says. Let me make this full screen. And does that do it? That does not do it. There we go. Does that do it? No, it doesn't. Okay. But here's what it says. And those who no longer expect menstruation, which is women who've gone through menopause, if you doubt that their period is 3 months. And then look, it says, and those who have not menstruated. Now, folks, those who have not menstruated, the biggest argument that you would hear people, and if you go, I don't know if you guys go to like the Clubhouse app, or if a lot of you spend a lot of time on, what was it, Discord and something else, Pal Talk, where you would engage in these epic arguments. But they often, the counter argument to this is, well, there's women that do not menstruate. And that's true. This is true. There are women that do not menstruate. But that is a physical ailment. And this is not talking about a physical ailment or a physical abnormality. Let's just leave it at that. It's abnormal for a woman not to menstruate if she's of that age. But this says specifically those who have not menstruated. So if you go to all of the commentators, Ibn Abbas, Ibn Kathir, Al-Jalalain, some of the most respected commentators, they will all unequivocally say that these are girls who have not reached puberty. That's who they are. These are girls that have not reached puberty. There's universal consensus about this of all of the popular compilers of Tasfir for Muslims. So when we start talking about, is it Islamophobic to discuss these things that are so pathetically grotesque?
It's not Islamophobic to discuss it if it's discussed by the people who wrote the Tasfir. Is how I look at it.
Well, I would, and you're absolutely right. You know, if it's in the Quran, you have to provide a commentary about it. But here's my thing: what kind of God? This is it's just so. And I've said this several times here, and I know you guys get tired of listening to my just absolute disgust with this. What kind of God would provide a provision in his final word, quote unquote, last message to mankind, provide them a provision to where they could do this to little girls? What kind of God does that? And then on top of that, what kind of man does that also? And you cannot, and every time you bring it up, you're called what? You're called an Islamophobe. And okay, if that is what an Islamophobe is, fine. Go ahead and call this kafir an Islamophobe.
I'm it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank
so
you.
If we can't protect our little girls by warning people about this, too bad. Your God is too small. He can't protect you because he's the one who put it in print. Not us.
Say that last part
We're
again.
the ones with. Your little God is so small he can't protect you. He even exposed that he likes little girls.
Yeah, and this is why the Quran is not from. I mean, this is one of the most easily identifiable parts of the Quran where you say, no way it can be from a God that would allow a grown man to do that to a little girl. Grown men are supposed to protect little girls and women, not rape them. And I know you always want to go to what passage is that where they talk about the Israelites taking women from the
Numbers 31.
That what it was, yeah. And they always go to that one. Oh, Jews did it, or Jews did it, and that it's nowhere even close to the same thing. But this is okay. So we to say that Muhammad was a pedophile, to say that Islam teaches pedophilia, if that's Islamophobia, then you need to explain to all of us why is there a provision in the Quran that it allows a grown man to do that to a prepubescent, girls that have not menstruated, women who have not menstruated. Why is there a provision in the Quran for that? I would like for somebody to provide a coherent explanation of that.
I know why. Jesus called them swine and dog. Thank you.
Okay. You're right. Because what did Jesus say about the children? He says, "Have them come unto me," not so you can take advantage of them, but so you can teach them.
Lady, go sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name. Lady, go sit your behind down in the corner somewhere until we call your name.
That's funny. Okay, another one that we have here is slavery. Are there any examples of, because who in here is familiar with the Nation of Islam? Is anybody?
I know somewhat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does the Nation of Islam teach essentially?
That black is a
slavery?
superior race.
On slavery? It would be chattel slavery.
They teach that there was this mad scientist that invented the white man. Okay, he made him evil, and then that started the race wars that almost wiped out mankind. But the black man rose up following the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yeah.
I don't understand that because Muhammad was described as being white.
Well,
yeah.
I think David Wood probably made the best video on that, describing the whiteness of Muhammad. But the Nation of Islam, and this is what the Nation of Islam does in order to push their religious bigotry and racial bigotry onto other people, is that they will turn around and say it was the white man who enslaved the black Africans, took them away from their Muslim roots and forced Christianity upon them. And
that's a lie.
It is. There's parts of it that are true because it was white people that were running the transatlantic slave trade, but it wasn't the white people that were enslaving people in Africa itself. It was other Africans, mainly Muslim Africans. Muslim Africans would enslave people of other tribes and sell them to the white European slave traders. Now, nobody here on this show will ever try to minimize the horrors and the absolute evil that was involved in the transatlantic slave trade. Nobody tries to minimize that. But when you have people that purposely ignore the main tenets of it and the main perpetrators of the slave trade in Africa, which were Muslims, then it becomes a problem. And this is where you have the Nation of Islam trying to push this idea that it was solely the white man that is responsible for the suffering, the constant suffering of millions of Africans coming from the continent of Africa to the Americas. Now, keep in mind, it was the Spanish that did that. And I'm not trying to blame the Spanish, and saying that they're not white Europeans. But what I am saying is that the United States, as far as the United States is concerned, and the European slave trade, I think the number is like 1 out of 8 slaves total, not even 8, maybe 10, that came across the Atlantic Ocean came to North America. The majority of them went to Central, South America, and the Caribbean.
One other thing.
But that doesn't minimize the evil of it. Go ahead, Ed, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, they're still enslaving today.
Yeah.
They have not changed that rule.
I was just going to bring that up.
People today.
I was going to bring that up because they actually found, I got links to articles where they actually found at least one in my state. But now, since Obama's time, I don't even think they're looking anymore. But they caught a few, and some were deported, and some were put in prison, the slavers.
Yeah. Excuse me, you're talking mainly about Libya? The slave trade that's going on in Libya, is that what you're referring to?
Oh, no.
No, we found that in the United States, too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's going on in the Islamic countries. They just close it off to anybody going into the slave trade areas. But in the United States of America, they have caught slavers.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah.
Some were put in prison. Some were deported. During the Obama years, he deported them so they can continue their slavery days.
Wow.
There's a form of it going on today, even in Saudi Arabia, where it isn't necessarily African slavery, but it's Southeast Asian slavery they're bringing in.
It's chattel. It's chattel slavery. It's chains around the necks, and when the slaves disobey, they hang them upside down and beat the hell out of them.
So slavery has always been practiced. Slavery has always been practiced in Islam. Slavery was practiced by Muhammad, and I'm not going to go through, the website, thereligionofpeace.org or whatever it is. Let me bring it up here. Has a listing or the hadith that hold on, I can't see. I am the worst at multitasking, and I apologize.
Okay, you can do it. You can do it.
You could
do it.
I don't see it. Here it is. Okay. They have a site or page dedicated to the evils of Islamic slavery. Let me put that in here. Slavery.
You mean the peace of Islam, right? The peace.
The
peace of Islam.
The
pieces.
The religion of peace. Right here. Here we go. Pieces right there. And it provides you all kinds of different provisions within the Quran itself that support slavery. And then not only slavery for the purpose of doing manual labor, but also sexual slavery. Oh, here's the number, 45,493 attacks since 9/11, right there. And then it provides all kinds of hadith literature where Muhammad engaged in owning slaves, selling slaves, and then also having people enslaved itself. You have it in the Sirah also. So you have it in the Quran. You have it in the Quran. You have it in the hadith literature. And you have it in the Sirah where slavery is sanctioned. So when we start, is it Islamophobic to say that Islam was founded by a man who engaged in the slave trade, enslaving people, owning them, selling them, and also encouraged or provided a provision for his followers to rape captives? And the answer is yes, it is Islamophobic to say that. Why? Because any type of criticism of Islam, you need to try to shut it down any way you can. And that is to call your opponent or somebody that brings it up, or a kafir who knows a little bit too much. And the other kafirs here within the group here, the panel here, is somebody who knows a little too much about Islam. One of these was where they went out and Here it is, Abu Dawood. Let me bring this up. It's right here. I didn't realize it was right here in front of me. Abu Dawood sent a military expedition on the occasion of the Battle of Hunain. They met their enemy and fought with them. They defeated them and took captive. Some of the companions of the apostle were reluctant to have intercourse with the female captives in the presence of their.
Oh, how sweet.
Now, let's make sure we point something out here. These men that took these women captive had a higher sense of morality than Muhammad, because what they're saying here, look what they're saying here. Let's see here. They want, let's see, they were reluctant to do this. Why? Because their husbands are still alive. They were reluctant in the presence of their husbands.
But they still did it. They still did it.
Right. And look what, now this is what Allah does. This is what the Allah does. The same Allah that gave you 65:4 says all married women are forbidden unto you. Now, isn't that a great God to serve? All married women are forbidden to be raped by you. Okay, thank you, Allah. But he doesn't stop there. Allah does not stop.
Right.
Look what Allah says. Save captives whom your right hand possesses.
Yeah, go ahead and rape them. It's okay. Allah says it's okay.
All right.
Go for it. Allah's so good. He's such a good God.
So, is it Islamophobic to say that there is a provision not only in the Hadith literature, an example in the Hadith literature, but also in the Quran to allow men to rape married, not just captive women that you capture on the battlefield, but ones that are married, their husbands are still alive? And the answer is yes. Now, is
such a good Allah, such a good, righteous Allah.
But Eric, also though there is a women's rights angle in this that I think is important to point out too, because you can't just always be negative, and that is that Muhammad did say, don't beat your wife the way you would beat a slave, because you might want to sleep with her later that night. And so there was a protection, there was that protection there. Right. And so.
Oh, how sweet of Allah.
The thing about Steve is that he always presents the information with a straight face, and he hits you upside the head. Well, he said that there was a provision there that you don't want to beat them like you beat a slave, because you might want to have sex with them later.
You can't beat them like you beat a slave, but Allah's okay if you beat a slave. How sweet of Allah. Thank you. Yeah, you're going to talk about women? I'm going to push Allah's face in the ground. Thank you.
Well, so is it Islamophobic to say that Muhammad was a pedophile? No. No. Not Muhammad, Allah, because Allah's the one who provided 65:4 for the believers. So I would say that it wasn't just Muhammad. Muhammad's just following the dictates of this Allah.
Sock puppet.
Sock puppet, yeah.
There's a problem here, because that's an assumption that Allah is not a sock puppet.
Come on, Paul.
Okay. And then is it Islamophobic to say that Islam, Muhammad, and Allah sanctioned slavery? It's in their literature. It says that they did. So yeah, I would say it can't be Islam. How can it be Islamophobic when it's in your own literature? Is it Islamophobic to say that you can rape your slaves or your captives? And here's a statistic that I've said several times on this show. When you look at the sub-Saharan slave trade, that went east as opposed to west, like the transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade, every 3 slaves that went west, 2 of them were men, because the majority of the slaves that went west were to work. They literally worked them to death. The life expectancy of a slave on a plantation, a sugar plantation in the Caribbean, was about 2 years. You were expected to die. But 2 out of 3 were men, mainly to work. And the women were there to have children, more slaves, so they would have a population there. The ones that went east, 2 out of every 3 were women. Why? To serve in these harems of these Muslim men. And when you look at
sex slaves, as sex slaves.
That's what a harem is.
Okay, yeah, say as sex slaves. I speak as a woman. Thank you.
And when we look at for example, let's look at the Middle East. When you look at, well, I'm not even going to go there. I'm just saying they raped them is what they did. So when we look at slavery and the use for slaves in Islam, it's much different than what it was for the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah, again, sex slaves. They were sex slaves, right? Sex slaves.
Sure that you understand that I'm not trying to justify the transatlantic slave trade. It was evil, period.
Yeah.
The purpose of it was to build wealth for these people who claimed land in the Western Hemisphere. The purpose of the slaves in the East were for the sexual pleasures of these sultans and these men who had these harems. Completely different. Okay, I said that he was an adulterer. Now, when we think of the provision in the Quran, and I'm not exactly sure where it is, I'm sure somebody could tell me. Adultery. This is where Muhammad is caught in Hafsa's bed with Mary the Copt. And
it's in 33, 37.
33, 37. Okay, I wrote it down. The Quran, let's see, let me just bring it up here. Quran, Islam, Quran, the Quran, no. Yes, this is it. Nope, that's not the right one. I'm sorry. Let's see. Quran, corpus. There we go. Right one. All right. 33, 37. Go. And here's what it says. Okay. Be sure to keep your wife up here. Okay. Right. Let me put it up on the screen. Present. Stop screen. Invite. Present. Screen. Why is this so big? Why can I not see? Why can I not? There. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, it's good enough, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And remember when you said to the one on whom Allah bestowed favor, and you bestowed favor, keep your wife in fear Allah while you concealed within yourself that which Allah has disclosed, and you feared the people why Allah has more right. You fear him. So when Zayed had no longer need for her, we married her to you. Okay, so this is where he gets the revelation, so-called, to marry his daughter-in-law. I'm sorry.
The sexual revelation of a daughter-in-law.
That I was talking about, Steve.
Mr. Sock Puppet comes out.
Oh,
yeah, that still comes out. The sock puppet is still exposed. Yeah. Come on, women.
Okay.
You ruined the sock puppet memories. Now stop it.
That is the sock puppet. You can go ahead and marry your daughter-in-law. It's okay.
Yeah. So this is marry the divorce. Okay. Good Lord. Married the divorced wife of his manuman. Come on. What's better right to you should fear? Come again. This is This is disgusting. This is where, but where is the one where he receives this revelation from Allah after he's caught in bed with Mary the Copt?
66:1. Surah 66:1, sir.
66:1.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you guys say that before and I just didn't hear
No,
you?
no, 66-1, sir.
66.
Hmm.
1, go. All right. Bring that Amajama up. O prophet, who did yourself that Allah was made lawful? Allah is forgiving. Okay, so what he's saying here is that Allah made it lawful because Mary the Copt was a slave. And so what he is saying is that since Mary the Copt was a slave, you can have sex with her because she's your slave. Now, didn't he eventually marry the Copt? Am I correct?
No, sir. He never married Mary the Copt. No, sir. I looked it up. He never did. Thank you.
I thought somebody.
No, he did not. No, sir. I looked it up. Thank you.
Okay, so he gets caught literally with his pants down in his wife's bed with another woman. What do we call that? We call that, it begins with an A and ends with adultery.
Adultery.
Adultery. We call this, this is a classic case of adultery. So here you have a man that is able to commit adultery, and he's given a verse by Allah, his sock puppet, because, you know, why do you prohibit? He said, because what he did after he got caught, folks, this is the thing. After he got caught, he's like, look, okay, I'll never do it again. Just don't tell Aisha I did this, okay? So he didn't want Aisha to find out about it. Don't tell anybody about it. And I promise you, I won't do this again, is basically what he says. Well, then he gets this revelation from God saying, no, who are you to do this? I'm giving you this woman. You can commit adultery with her in your wife's bed. Don't. Right. It says, do not prohibit. Why do you prohibit what Allah has made lawful for you? And you're trying to get the approval of your wives. You should be trying to look for the approval of what Allah says.
Yeah, Allah is prohibiting Muhammad, according to the scriptures, to be a swine and a dog. Thank you.
Okay. So is it Islamophobic? Is it Islamophobic to point this out?
No.
Hey,
there is another reference.
Why don't you should put up Andrew Martin's comment.
What did Andrew say? Today's topic, adultery with. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is another reference.
What?
There's another reference in the chat. The Sahih Bukhari.
Yep.
4788.
Oh, here
I feel that Allah hastens in fulfilling your wishes and desires. Oh, Muhammad.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's by
loves the flesh.
Aisha. Yeah. This is after. Yeah. Aisha says, "Look, you know, God lets fulfill all your desires." It seems like it's what's the word I'm looking for? This is kind of predictable that you get all these
women.
Revelations that allow you to, divorce your wife. They allow you to marry your daughters or your daughter-in-law, to have sex with your slaves. It's how convenient for you. But to point that out is what? Islamophobic. So that makes me an Islamophobe, I guess.
No, it doesn't. It just makes us to show the Islamic sources. Thank you.
Now that you're an Islamophobe for doing this.
No, because we showed the Islamic sources. Thank you.
Well, I want to be an Islamophobe, Connie.
According to their Sharia.
Yeah, you're not. Us showing. Yeah. Thank you. Us showing the Islamic sources is not Islamophobe. It's just showing what Islam is all about. Thank you.
Eric, can you put up Al-Shah ex-Muslims last comment?
Right here.
Yeah.
She's saying your Allah. Very good point. Let's see. I fear that your Allah hastens fulfilling your wishes and desire. Very good. Good catch. Good catch, yeah.
Yeah, Allah is about immorality and sin.
See you, Latia. Okay, so right now by saying that Muhammad is a pedophile, slaving, raping, adulterous man is not Islamophobic because it's all from his sources. I have another one. Notice I put in there that he was a murderer. And I know a lot of you, whenever you call somebody a murderer, that's a pretty serious allegation, especially as somebody who was a prophet of God, to try to categorize or place him in the category of being a murderer. But if you go to this website, and we went through this in one of our shows, where it provides a list of the killings ordered by Muhammad. Now, let's keep in mind, before we get to this, what are you doing here, Catherine? Here we are. Before we get to this, let's keep in mind that this does not include the killing of the Banu Qurayza, where they killed, was it 600, 800 men in one afternoon?
Yes. Well, it's Islam's definition of men too. I mean, if you have one pubic hair, you're counted as a man.
Yeah, that makes you a man. That you got a pubic hair, you're a man. Yeah, this is how shallow thinking this is. But okay, so this is not even talking about that, which is, I mean, if you participate in the slaughtering of 800 people, what does that make you?
A murderer.
Murderer, yes, it makes you
a mass murderer, actually.
A mass murderer, you're right. And they also targeted a certain people group, which was the Jews. So this also makes you, and the purpose was to get rid of that Jewish tribe. So this also makes you a genocidal ethnic cleanser. So when you
it's worse, he's a terroristic, torturer, Islamic pedophile, murderer, mass murderer. You put it all together.
When I respond to people like on Twitter or Facebook, I always say that he was a genocidal ethnic cleanser and murderer. And that pretty much sums it up. Now, it just wasn't the Banu Qurayza that he had killed. Look at, if you go through these list of murder.
Oh, you're going to Wiki Islam. You're going to an Islamic site to find this information.
This is not an Islamic site, but what it does is it outlines a lot of the things.
Wiki Islam is Islamic, I think.
It's ex-Islamic. It's made by ex-Muslims.
Oh, made by ex-Muslims. Okay.
Yeah. Do you know who run? Well, I might want to get.
I'm happy with them. I'll say that much.
Yeah, they do it, and it's an excellent source for these types of discussions when you get into them with people. But look at this provides a list of who was killed or who Muhammad ordered killed, what the reason was, and where you can find the source for these. And many of these sources are found in the Sirah literature. But if you scroll through this, I mean, it's just. Oh, here's the Banu Qurayza right here. Let's see. Yeah. Does it say how many? 600 to 900 were beheaded, according to.
Wow, that Muhammad agreed to. Whoa.
And where were they buried, Eric?
Yeah.
In the marketplace.
Yeah, it was right. Yeah, in the middle of town. Yeah. Could you imagine?
They buried them and had the market over that. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you could smell that for months. But it wasn't, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, I think it goes up to 40. Yeah, 44. There we go. 44 different cases where Muhammad ordered the deaths of people. And a lot of it was for, just simply criticizing him, writing poetry and reciting poetry.
Oh, whoa. What a poor baby, Muhammad.
Now, again, let me ask this question. Is this Islamophobic to point out that Muhammad was a murderer and somebody who ordered the murder of people?
It's true Islamophobia at its finest.
Thank you.
No.
Red,
here's the only issue I see with it. We're not sure that Muhammad was real. We're not sure, we have no historical proof that Muhammad is real. So how do we accuse a person who may never have been real? That's the only case I see for I mean, are we talking? Do we have any proof that we're talking about a real person?
I'm not. That's a different topic for a different show.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
But again,
It's
not
topic.
Islamophobic. Is it Islamophobic to point out that there's no evidence that it exists?
Right. And this is the same genre of critique that we would have to include when we look at, the history of Islam itself. What type of, is there a legitimate reason to say that Muhammad was a historical person? Is there a legitimate reason to say that Mecca existed in the 7th century? And the answer, if you're using the historical method and in the same type of practices that you arrive at other historical facts or that applied to other religions, the answer would be no. But for some reason, Islam gets a pass on this. It's like an affirmative action program for a religion is what Islam is like.
I'll put it down. It is DIE at its best. Dumb idiots. I'm going to use the last one. Oh my gosh, there's nothing there but hot air. Let me put it that way. When you're looking at this, it's crazy.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. So
I would choose the cow.
Thank you. I would.
Oh, we hear it all the way, Rad. I would choose the. He didn't even say cow, Rad.
Hold on.
Say it again, Rad.
I would choose the cow.
We didn't even hear the cow.
I heard it.
Lady, go sit your behind
We didn't
down
hear
in
the cow, Rad.
until we call
We
your
didn't
name.
hear the
Lady, go
cow.
sit your
Do it
behind down in the corner
again.
somewhere until we call your name.
I know,
Lady, go
I
sit your
know,
behind
I
down
know.
in the corner somewhere until we
I
call
know,
your name.
I know, Kenny. But go ahead and do it again, Rad, one more time. We didn't hear the cow.
If I have to choose between 1.6 billion Muslims and a cow, I would choose the cow.
Yes, most definitely.
There we go.
A lot of people don't know about that clip that we play with Kenny. This was a clip that was from one of his live streams. I think that was the live stream. It was like 4 hours long or something like that, where he was
3 hours, where he wanted to claim that I was not a true Christian, but I've got two quotes in a video that Muslims said that I was a Christian. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's a couple years old, but yeah, it was classic. That's why Brad cut it up and put it in there. And if you guys know anything about StreamYard, when you use StreamYard, you have you have 4 different tabs: one for the comments, one for banners, one for the brand, which is your videos that you can play, like this one.
I would choose the cow.
Okay, and then at the bottom of that, you have all kinds of. Let's see.
I want to reject Islam.
You can play audio, right? So whenever things come up in the show, you can click on those things, and I don't know. It's kind of fun.
I would choose the cow. I would choose the cow.
All right, we're done with that. I would choose the cow. Okay. So we have established the fact that it is not Islamophobic. It is not Islamophobic to say that Muhammad was a genocidal, ethnic cleansing, murderous, adulterous, raping, slave trading, and enslaving pedophile. It's not Islamophobic unless you are not allowed to use their own Islamic sources. Notice when we established these facts, we did not use anything but Islamic sources, trusted Islamic sources. This isn't like getting some type of crazy commentary from some Christian crusader in 1150 AD, lamenting, having the rules are the most trusted sources of Islam. And so the point that I wanted to make today is that this charge of Islamophobia, and I think it was either Darcy or Sharon said it best at the beginning of the show. What did you guys say about this irrational fear? One of you guys said something to the fact that it is Muslims who are Islamophobic. They are afraid of the true Islam. They are afraid of the true writings that apply to Muslims, and that there's so much truth to that. That, if you look at Muslims in the West and what they say about Islam, was that you, Sharon, that brought that up?
Yeah, but you said it better.
Well, okay. Well,
you know what they do is they run away from Islam sources to the Bible. So who's the Islamophobic here?
Right, and that's the point.
Come on.
Point that they are more Islamophobic than anybody else, and the reason why, and here's the sad reason why, is that they have a higher sense of morality. They have a higher sense of morality than what Muhammad did, the angel Gabriel did, and their Allah did. And they know this because of what Paul tells us in Romans, that the law of God is written on our hearts. And when you ethnically cleanse, when you murder somebody, when you rape somebody, when you enslave somebody, when you commit adultery, when you are a pedophile, it convicts you, because we all know to do those things is wrong in our hearts. And not that I've ever raped anybody or committed murder against anybody, so I would know what that means. But we know as human beings the difference between right and wrong. Yeah,
Eric, to be theological, they will not inherit the kingdom of God. Thank you.
Without Christ. Without Christ, everyone is lost. And your heart. Let me get back to my point. The point that I was trying to make was that Muslims have a higher sense of morality of Muhammad, and when you provide a criticism of him and what he did during his life and what the Quran says and commands or allows them to do, you are the one that's going to be attacked, and you are going to be called an Islamophobe, when we all know that this is not an irrational fear. All it is an accurate criticism of their sources. And when you make an accurate criticism of the sources and illuminate that, that's when the knives come out for you. Okay.
Well, Christ is Lord, and they can do their murderous continually, but Christ is Lord. Thank you.
Yeah. To say that is blasphemy in Islam. To say that Christ is Lord.
Because it's antichrist. 1 John 21 through 23. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I have for this week. Let me just restate this so everybody here that was not here at the beginning of the show knows this. Beginning on the 15th of July, which is a Monday, we're going to start switching the show to Mondays at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So next Sunday, July 7th. Am I right on that? Next Sunday is July 7th. Okay.
Yes.
Will be our last Sunday show, and we will do it at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. It'll go the normal time, but I'm going to switch the show to the middle of the week to accommodate the family.
We still have 30 minutes, Eric.
Well, what do you want to talk about? I mean,
let people say their spill.
Okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead.
What time on Mondays? What time on Mondays?
5 p.m. Central Standard Time. 5 p.m.
Okay,
Central.
thank you.
Thank you.
Would you guys rather do it at 4?
It's up to you. It's up to you, Eric.
No.
You're the host. You're the host, sir.
I'm retired now, so I could.
So it's Monday. I would say 5 because most people get off between 4-ish and 5 p.m. So I think 5 p.m. is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, here's a good one by Ali. I like that one. Yeah. There's no independent. That's the key word right there. Independent. An independent historical proof. You can cite all your Muslim sources that you want to, but those Muslim sources that are cited are normally 200 or 2 centuries after Muhammad. So.
Right.
Bada bing. All right, so
and no historians take that, because it's like you said, 200 to 250 years later.
Well, there is no Central Standard Time. It's got to be Central Standard Time, and I know that's during. And that's what kept me off on Mondays before. It's during Vito's show over on Blog Talk Radio.
BTR, yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, you don't want to. I don't want to compete with the old boss, but I asked when I was talking to the Queen about this. She says Mondays, Mondays or Tuesdays, and she says, well, most Mondays we really don't have a lot going on. Okay, so
the queen is always right, Eric.
I learned that.
Just like I'm the queen of my husband. In Christ only, I'm always right.
38 years ago, I learned that you always
38.
That's why you're still married, right?
I've only been married 30 years. How long have you been married, dear Eric?
It will be 39.
Wow. Praise God. Hallelujah.
Yeah, give me a good godly woman.
Amen.
I tolerate her.
You tolerate a queen? Come on, Eric. Come on.
Look, bro. As they go on there, it's anyway.
It goes both ways, though, Eric.
Yes, it does. Come on. Come on. And I'm sure she tolerates you too, right, Eric King?
She definitely does.
Can I answer the question that Pope 1236 put up? And I think Steve would like to answer it.
What's that, Steve? What was it?
Can you put up Pope 123's comment? 1236. Yeah. You know what? Even the devils would write a better book. It would be more coherent. Then it would be more believable. So demonically possessed, I still think it's closer to being written by a monkey. A monkey took a bunch of imaginary scripture, fell when it was bringing it to the scribe, and then put it together in such a manner that nobody knows what's actually going on. That's my best way. I don't think it's written by Satan, because I think Satan would try to make something believable.
I was thinking the other day about this too, though, that Satan knows that the sun doesn't set in a muddy pool.
Yes.
Yeah. Come on.
He would have come up with something better than that. And with Satan knows stuff. He's been around the universe. There's something that Chuck Missler used to always say, is that there's a book called Gulliver's Travels, and in that book they describe 2 moons that are on the other, like on the side of Mars, that nobody knew about. But it made me think that there was some kind of, Satan would have known about them, and he would have something like that, to kind of make it mysterious or something. But when it's so dumb, stuff that's so dumb, like this, I don't think he, even though I do think he was involved, I do think Muhammad was possessed, if he existed, and that it was Satan who came to him in the cave, and he knew that. But the Quran, though, yeah, I think that was, I wouldn't blame him for that. So
I look at the Quran as, you got a con man who is writing stuff because there's no details. That to me, that's the one thing I had. I'm after reading the Quran straight through with Gufar. I credit him for, we both did it together. We're going through the whole thing. If I hadn't read it like that, I would not see this as a con man's book, because I don't know how else to describe it. There's absolutely no details.
Yeah.
Well, the few details we talk, I think this one of the things that we brought up last week. We were comparing that to the locations that are mentioned in the Quran. There's only like 9 locations, and it's only mentioned like 65 different times, these 9 locations. Where if you just go to the Gospel of Luke alone, you have over 60 different locations, and you have
let's try names. I have a challenge out there right now for any Muslim to show me from the Quran any of Joseph's brothers' names.
Well, the other thing is that the Quran claims that it explains everything in detail and doesn't qualify everything
in detail.
Well, back to the point about it being satanic, and I agree with part of what Steve said, where I believe that it was satanically inspired, or at least demonically inspired. And the reason why you would, because you're right, Steve. Who would put in there, that the sun sits in the muddy pool of water? What kind of idiot? Who would say that? Alexander the Great built this wall made of iron and copper between two mountains. What kind of idiot would say that? But at the same time, when we talk about the very one thing that saves us from our sins, that gives us eternal life with God, and that would be what Christ did on the cross. And then the Quran says that Jesus was sinless. The Quran says that Jesus performed many miracles. The Quran says that Jesus was virgin born. The Quran says that he taught many great commands. But that very one thing, they said he was the Messiah, but that one thing that saves us from our sins, well, that didn't happen. And that's exactly what Satan would do. The greatest thing that Satan has done in the 20th century has been able to convince people that he doesn't even exist. If you talk to people, they say, "Oh, Satan doesn't exist. The devil doesn't exist." The majority of people don't even think they exist. Even if you ask Christians, there's a good percentage of Christians that say that they don't believe that Satan exists. He is a master of lies, and to inspire somebody to say that Jesus did this, Jesus is great, he's a great teacher, Jesus is a great prophet, all these things, but that one thing that saves you from your sins, no, that didn't happen. That's exactly something that Satan would do. That's why I believe, honestly, Ron was, at least in part, demonically inspired, because of that one fact alone. All right, who else has a point they would like? Why are you here twice, Connie?
I have no idea. I got kicked out and then I jumped back in. I don't know, sir.
Well, okay. I'm not going to monkey around because I don't want to kick the wrong Connie out.
It's me and the Lord, so that's good.
That's good. Okay. Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Connie, before we leave?
Yeah. Oops. Okay. 1 John 1. I had it in the comments. Maybe you guys can see it. It doesn't show on my end on the chat.
Private chat?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Who is the liar if not the one who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This one is the Antichrist, and the one who denies the Father and the Son. No one who denies the Father, or no one who denies the Son has the Father. He who confesses the Son has the Father as well. Right? Yeah. They deny
Did you read it?
Sorry about that.
I just did read it. Yes.
Did I do that?
First John. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. 1 John 2, 22 through 23. It's right there now in the chat and our back channel.
Yeah, that's what I was reading.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I couldn't hear because I had to jump out. Thank you.
Okay, it says, who is the liar if not the one who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This one is the Antichrist, and the one who denies the Father and the Son. Verse 23, no one who denies the Son has the Father. He who confesses the Son has the Father as well. Yes. Okay, Steve, did you have anything that you wanted to add, my brother?
It's. I just want to say, the pendulum politically always swings, and the pendulum right now seems to be swinging in our direction now.
What are you, a Trump supporter or something?
Yeah. Yes. Well, and when he beat up on Medicare, that really took me out of his. No, but in Europe It's happening in Europe. It's happening in France in a massive way. And, you know, I got to be honest, I get a little bit worried sometimes when this happens, because they're not coming for Christ. You know, some of them are, but it concerns me a little bit when the pendulum swings our way, that a lot of the bad people also get swept up with it, you know, and the racism and the real Islamophobia and stuff like that. And I think as Christians, you know, we just need to pray that ugly part, you know, not rear its head, you know, that the church, you know, we represent the church, and that as the church that we would represent, you know, our responsibility as Christians, first and foremost, to preach the gospel to the Muslims, that they would come to know the Lord. And so, yeah, I'm a little scared of what's happening in Europe, you know, and because I know they're scared. In Europe, the people are scared of Islam. They're scared. Hamas, you know, there's one thing about Hamas. They are really idiots when they did what they did on October 7th.
Come on.
You know, one thing they don't realize is that when the Jews get scared, what do? They go back to Israel. So they are calling the Jews to Israel. They're trying to get the Jews out of Israel. More are going to come now. There was even a column in the New York Post today, this Jewish guy from New York in Israel saying, Jews in America's not safe for you anymore. Come home. You know, and so these are kind of the unintended consequences, you know, that you know, Hamas didn't think about when they did October 7th. So,
well, I would disagree with your idea that the pendulum, because I get, you know, when you're right, politically the pendulum does swing from side to side. But it's been out here on the left side so far, so long, that any movement to the center could alarm people, saying, well, wait a second, when we make this correction of being so liberal and so, well, liberals, I guess the good word.
Antichrist, you know.
Being so liberal that any movement away from that might be worrisome to the status quo. And I would say, let it swing. Of course,
yes.
Clear out here where the Nazis were, where they started, you know,
right.
You know, killing people because they thought that they were the superior race. Of course, you know, I don't think that's ever going to get that far again. You know, pray God that it never gets that far again. But any type of swing rightward away from what is going on and has been going on in Europe the past 60, 70 years since World War II, has to be, as far as I'm concerned, positive movement. But I get, you know, you know, not wanting it to get so far out. All right, Ed, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would like to remind everybody that the book of Daniel shows us who's in control, who decides, who judges nations, and how he judges nations. And when a nation starts doing against the will of God, he will judge that nation. And you can see the EU is being judged. They're under judgment right now. Now, if we're not careful, we're going to end up right there with them. So we have to remember to bring our Lord and Savior back home where he belongs, and live in his grace. And it's very important for us to do that. If we don't, we're going to end up right where they are.
When you look at the Jews, whenever they get away from God, they're judged by God. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's so many examples in the Bible where that happens. So I would agree. But at the same time, I would add, however, that the return of the Jewish people, to the land, is an absolute miracle. To have the Jews return to their homeland is an absolute miracle. Now, whether or not they follow God as a nation, or whether or not they are, they still want to be in God's graces, that's up to them. That's something that they have to do. And if they don't, then God will judge them. I have no doubt that that's going to happen.
There's one verse in the book of Revelation that a lot of people miss, and you got to catch this. It's Revelations 3, 8, and 9, where it says, there are those who say they are Jews and they are not, but they are of the synagogue of Satan.
Right.
And those guys are there. They are there. They're the Orthodox guys that do not believe in Jesus Christ. So they're there.
Yeah. Well, they posted in chat. What is the? Where did I just see that? Somebody
Revelation 3, 8, 9. We'll get it for you.
Somebody asked, "What's it?" Here it is. Here it is. What is the difference between Christianity and Judaism? Jesus. Jesus. That's the difference. I think that you want to. What's the difference between Christianity and Islam? Jesus.
Yeah. Jesus. Jesus. Christianity is Messianic Judaism. Thank you.
Okay, let's go with Isa. Is Isa still with us? He has his hair pulled back, or if he's going to get it. I would actually pay money to see that. To get. I shouldn't have busted his chops like I did. But anyway, okay. Paul, is Paul still with us? Paul is in the great state of misery.
Paul, I found your book. Paul, I found your book.
Yay.
I got it.
Yay.
Amen.
I'm in Missouri. Usama just presented at a church early on today, and it's kind of exciting. They're going to be doing a fireworks thing later on at another church in the area, apparently. So, yeah, it's exciting. I'm having a good time.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul.
I say, come join Eric. Come join me and Usama. We're all going to be in Ohio from the 11th to the 14th. You want to do some evangelism? You want to learn some more about apologetics? Come join us.
What day did you say that was?
It starts on the 11th in Youngstown, Ohio. And then the next day is the 12th to the 14th. Probably most people hear about the 12th to the 14th, but I know that we're starting on the 11th in Youngstown, Ohio. Usama's coming.
You and Usama are going to be in Youngstown? Is he speaking?
Yeah,
there?
no, I'm talking about the whole conference. They're going to be in Youngstown.
Where's Youngstown? All right.
Usama, do you want to come join us for a second? We're about signing off.
Absolutely.
We're signing off here, but yes.
Don't sign off yet. Wait.
Hold on.
Why you sign off?
All right. You coming over? Yeah.
Let there be light. Let there was light. Hello, everybody.
All right.
Greetings.
Oh, I love your tie. Where'd you get that tie?
Osama, look at you and Paul.
I will put it in my ear.
Come on. Come on, Osama.
Let me see if I can hear anything here. All right.
Speak, my brother, speak. You can hear my voice.
Hello.
Speak, my brother.
Greetings. Hey, praise God. God is good. I see a camel with one hump. No, that's two hump. Hey, what's going on here?
Church suffers from Islamophobia. That's why she has it on there.
Oh man, there is so much benefit in camels. If the infidels can find it out, you'll be surprised. You can eat its meat, which is according to the book of Deuteronomy is unlawful. You can drink their camel, which according to any doctor with common sense, it is not good for you. And you can smoke it, a cigarette. So there's so much good in camels.
We had
camel cigarettes.
We did have a vendor that was a sponsor of this show that sold camel urine for a while. They stopped supporting the show because they didn't have any profits. Nobody was buying it.
Listen, Eric, here is the truth. God is my witness. If I have my computer open, I will show you. I am very mad. I am very unhappy because a good 17, 18 years ago, I can show you the date on my slides. I am the first man who invented camel urine. As a matter of fact, we have it in a gallon size. It's called, you can laugh, but I got the evidence. I got the dates on my slide. I got these a gallon camel urine, half a gallon camel urine, and then I got 20-ounce camel urine. And then we come up with this great idea of camel urine dry powder, which come in different flavor. It come in hazelnut and fresh vanilla and Irish cream and mocha. I mean, I like mocha myself, okay? So it is kind of mixed between chocolate and coffee. And so it's called Nest Camel. Nest Camel. I got the evidence, I got the slide, and I'm still looking for, because nobody yet bought camel with flavor like I do. Camel urine. So if you're interested, I can bring my company to your deal here, and we can make it, 90-10. I get 90% of the profit. You get 10% of the profit. I say, why you're laughing? I say, you don't believe me?
I was laughing too, Osama. I love you, Osama. You know me.
Hey, Paul, can you get Osama that link that I just put in the private chat? I want him to see the fruits of his labors. We've made a website based on his books. That I don't know if he remembers us or not, but we asked a long time ago if we could make some movies based on your books.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You actually used some bite. You did.
Yeah, we've done it. We've done it, and
awesome.
We've done 3 movies now. So
well, I saw one. Somebody sent me. I don't know if it was you or somebody else.
Okay.
And I love what I saw. So, but I would like to see them. Maybe I can hear myself. You know what? I don't like to hear myself. That's why when I heard it, I'm not kidding. When somebody said it, that was like a few years ago. Was your first one 2 years ago or so? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay. Somebody sent it to me, and I listened to it. I said, "Man, I like that guy." And somebody was sitting next to me. You saw that's you. I said, "Excuse me, what?" I said, "Wait a minute, let me hear it again." Well, because I never really hear myself. Wait a minute, that guy talked funny. He talked like me. What? That's me. That's true. So anyway, talked to some of my friends, and they loved it. It was a good project, and look forward to see it again. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, can we watch this video and maybe promote it in our website or in our channel for people to go and watch the whole thing? Awesome. So what do you guys talk about? I came here to take over about camel urine. What did you talk about today?
As long as we didn't discuss the what would we call that? The carbonation of the camel urine when you pop the tap on it and it fizzes and stuff. That goes over very well. No, what we were talking about today, Osama, was Islamophobia, and we were trying to make a determination if we were all Islamophobes.
Yeah,
that's true.
If you call Muhammad, what was it? A genocidal, ethnic cleansing, murderous, adulterous, raping, slave trading, and enslaving pedophile. Does that make you an Islamophobe? Mm-hmm. And if you go to the Islamic sources, and this, normally we don't get this crass on the show, meaning that we don't go for the jugular a lot. But I mean, if you really want to start pointing fingers at us and say you're an Islamophobe, you say, well, wait a second. This is what your own sources say, and this is what we've spent the last hour and a half doing. I tried to talk
I wish. You know what? I sit in front of my TV. I'm so tired. Last week I didn't sleep, so I slept. I just wake up. I said, "Oh, I know. Oh, it's on with show with you guys." I said, "I need to go check them out." And now I'm coming there. Can we do this show again? One more.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to move the show to Mondays. I don't know how your Mondays look.
I will do it anytime. You choose the time. I'll be with you.
Man.
In Ohio. I'm going to be in Ohio, and I will come find you. And we'll talk about it.
But I have a presentation actually called Islamophobia Fact or Fiction. It is so powerful presentation. I have not done it for 8 months or so. Since October 7th, I do Israel or Palestine, a very powerful presentation. But Islamophobia Fact or Fiction, it has so much information. Yes, indeed. Every non-Muslim is Islamophobia. As a matter of fact, Muslims who left Islam are Islamophobia. And who's not Islamophobia?
Well, one of the observations that was made by Sharon. What did Sharon do? Did Sharon leave us? Sharon, one of the panelists today, was that Muslims are the biggest Islamophobes because they are the ones that are afraid of looking at Islam. The And the reason why is because they're more moral than what Allah, Gabriel, or Muhammad were. And when they're exposed to that, it scares the snot out of them. So they have their reaction is to start calling names. This is what
sure. And by the way, Eric, the reason I did this presentation, I was in Minnesota, 7-8 years ago, and a man by the name Julani Hussein, I don't know if you guys know him or not. He's the head of care in Minnesota. He actually spread the rumor about me that I was running away from him for something. I never even know the man. And anyway, and then we actually went on TV station. He's supposed to be that he ran away from me, but then he made a presentation. It's called Islamophobia. So I've counted how many times that he used the word Islamophobia in that an hour presentation. It was over 108 times, 110 times, something like that. I said, whoa. So that led me to get into this. And I said, no, it is not Islamophobia. It's a fact. Yeah. You're making it up to as a coverage or as a label to stop people from listening to what we teach about Islam. This is not Islamophobia. These are simply facts about Islam. If I give you the verse and I give you the hadith and I give you the practice of Islam in the Sunnahs by the leadership of Muhammad and others to what I'm talking about, that is not Islamophobia. These are facts. That's why I call my presentation Islamophobia, fact or fiction. What the American people need to know. It's very powerful. I think. Hey, so if you will really would love to talk about again, maybe I can me and Paul open our presentation and have a little bit more chat.
Well, this is the same tactic that the homosexuals use to shut down any criticism of homosexuality. They would call people who criticize homosexuality homophobes.
Well, this is the lesson that Islam has taken from the homosexual movement.
Yeah, and I think we got to do a better job of pointing that out and say, well, I'm so glad that you Muslims are learning from.
So who is it that created the word Islamophobia? Isn't it Triple IT or?
No, exactly. But
no, I think it is Triple IT.
Yeah, but it's just amazing that they want so badly with their title or this thing to just label anyone and everyone who will speak some truth about Islam to be Islamophobe. As a matter of fact, I got 4 videos. That is a presentation which we use our 4 videos. The one of I don't know who actually made that video, but I love that man when he said Muslims living with Christian is a problem. Muslim live with the Jew is a problem. Muslim live with Buddha is a problem. He actually put all the religions of the world together, no problem. This slight problem in one place here or there. But then he said Muslim, no, when you put Muslim, it's a problem. And the greatest one is Muslim live with Muslims. That is big problem. Man, oh man. That guy Islamophobe, now he's talking about a history of 1450 years.
It might be Bill Warner.
No, it's not Bill Warner. Somebody young.
I've seen that before, and you're right. Jews and Christians, no problem. Jews and Buddhists, no problem. Christians and Buddhists, no problem. Jews and Hindus, no problem. And then it goes Muslims, problem. And then it goes the country. And it's a great way to illustrate how they try. They're religious supremacist. That's one of my terms. Is a religious supremacist. Is what they are. They try to force the religious supremacy.
It's a fact. It's a fact. How can you argue with facts? Show me a Muslim country where Muslims live with Muslims in peace in the last 1400 years or so. It never happened. It was never there. It is a reality of how Muslims lived all their life. And to talk about it, make Islamophobe.
Yeah, and that's what we're pointing out today. This is I wanted to show you real quick. This is what Ed was alluding to, that website as far as the.
I showed it to him. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. This last one I have not seen yet. I've seen these other 2, but I have not seen this last one. So I'm going to have to spend some time.
I will watch the last 2. I only saw the first one. And I could not believe it was me, man. I didn't even sound good. Normally when I speak, I make enough mistakes that I laugh at myself. That's why I don't like to. My grammar is terrible. But it's like, why did I say this, not that? I know the right, but when I speak, because I speak from my head, I don't have a piece of paper to read from. Even when I read, it's worse. I don't like to read. I like to speak like I'm talking to you right now. And then I'm not kidding you. It takes me some time to figure out. Wait a minute, that's really my voice. And because I was talking to you guys, I don't know who did this video. Maybe someday I should meet with all of you who put that video together and have a party, because you did a good job in it.
I'd love to.
That would be good, Eric. Show his video that he's talking about Islamophobic, and then bring him on and let us talk about it.
Yeah, just be careful, because when we tried to put it on YouTube, they immediately took it down. So.
Yeah, but we'll just go ahead and do it and just pray that YouTube will know.
In the last 20 years, 368 times, something like that.
Yeah.
One of them,
end of the world.
One of them is like the PG-13 version. The other one's like the rated R version. You can't. Yeah. You would have.
But you know what's so amazing? They were taking us off YouTube for the video we have. It's called The Uniqueness of Christianity, because they said I have no right to use that video. Wait a minute, that video is made by me. It's made by us.
They were challenging him for the copyright.
Copyright of my video. Excuse me. Every music in it is legal. The wording is legal. The picture is legal. I mean, I can get Randy to talk about it. He don't put it together with every step on the way is legal. But these people think, oh, I maybe just found that video online and like it. That's why I'm using it. It's my video. It's our work. You cannot tell me copyright from my work. Give me a break. Anyway,
this is what trolls do. They have nothing better to do with their lives. So this is this is what happens all the time. It happens to anybody that has a YouTube. I get strikes all the time over on Facebook, here on YouTube, and you just get used to it, and you file the replies to it.
The paperwork and let go.
Yeah, and most people that are sensible will say.
One time they actually took David Wood down because of sexual material, and we went to watch the whole thing. He never talked about sex. He never mentioned the word sex. But it was the excuse he used is he have material. Sexual material is not right, or does not fit with the age of the younger age. But you go watch the whole hour. He never mentioned anything about sex. He never talked about Muhammad's sex or anybody's sex. It was a good excuse to take him down. That's one of his videos down. That's one of the reasons David just got sick and tired of it, and he decided to leave YouTube completely.
Well, that's exactly what happened to a friend of mine. He had a news channel, and it's my friend from Canada. And his news channel, all they did was translate European news stories into English in the subtitles.
Yeah,
that's all they did. Gates of Vienna, and they shut him down.
For what reason?
Sexual.
Oh yeah, inexcusable disrespect. Yeah,
Islam, sexual.
You know this.
Islam, sexual.
Well, you can. How in the world you can talk about Islam without talking about sex? But since we didn't make that program, it was excused, but it's the wrong program. But this what you call the tool you use to cloud the earth, to fix the earth, open the earth. It's a big tool you put behind your tractor. It have like holes in the ground to cut plow. So the man said, "Can I borrow your plow because I really want to use it tomorrow to do my yard? My plow is broken, something." He said, "Well, let me check with my wife." The farmer said, "He said, I'm sorry, my wife said you can't because she needed tomorrow to comb her hair." So any excuse is a good excuse if you don't want to do something or you want to do something. Yeah. You got my joke. Somebody got my joke. Somebody.
I got it. Yeah, we got your joke.
Your wife's filth to plow. Yep, I've read that one. All right, folks. It is past 6 o'clock, and we are going to call it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Eric. You may end your video now.
When you they will not, Osama, this is why you need to come, is because they will not do a show that's under 2 hours. I have to say
that is good. I'll see you next time. I promise you, next time I'm not gonna go sleep. Paul, you grab me and put me on, man.
Oh, you need to do it.
God bless you. God bless you all.
I will tell you that Paul and Usama, I am looking so forward to meeting you guys in person in Ohio in a couple of weeks. For those of you that, again, David Wood has the advertisement for it. And Paul, do you guys have the ad for the conference? If you want to drop that in chat,
I will put the.
If not,
I'll put the YouTube link in to find the information. Just a minute.
Yeah, okay, yeah, put that in there, and that way people can sign up for it. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and it looks like it's going to be starting a day early. somebody didn't tell me that you guys.
And we're speaking in 2 different places, I believe, this time, not one place.
That's what I was just.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling them.
Which is okay. I might be able to make it a day early, but I already planned that week to leave here on the 11th and that be at the conference on the 12th. If I have to leave here on the 10th, be there on the. I'll figure it out. So everybody, thank you so much for coming. Darcy, I'm sorry, I didn't ask Darcy if she had anything to add.
Come on, Darcy, add it 4 minutes. 4 minutes, Darcy. 4 minutes, Darcy. Come on, girl.
Read. Don't listen to us, because we're just humans. Like Paul always said, and I stole it from him. Do your own research.
Yeah, that is the first word Allah told Muhammad through Jibreel. Read. ما أنا بقارئ. اقرأ. ما أنا بقارئ. Go ahead.
And if you do read, I have a couple books that I would recommend for you to read.
I got that.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir. This
I'll also show you the right Quran to read, but you've all seen it 100 times before. All right. God bless everybody. Thank you for coming for the Cross and the Crescent. We're going to do a cold close, and we will see you a final Sunday. Next Sunday will be the last Sunday show. I'm just telling you. Is that next Sunday? That is next Sunday. And then we're going to be going to Monday. So God bless you all, and we'll see you.
Thank you for coming, Usama.
Yeah,
thank you. My joy. God bless you all.
Love you, sir.
Advanced student and specialist. That the standard narrative has holes. That's what
That the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.